is a top national speaker and coach and the division president, like I said, of Neo Home Loans. And you guys, this is a real treat. He actually flew in here from my hometown of Park City, so we have a lot in common. He lives up there now. And today he's going to talk to you guys about how to gain an unfair market share by selling a different product. So I'm going to give it away to Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. First, I just want to give a shout out to the Neo team and the Brand Realty team for putting this event together. This is phenomenal. Round of applause to everybody for that. So I have to start with a bit of a disclaimer in that what I'm going to talk about might be a little uncomfortable. It may create some negative emotion, some stress, and your initial reaction is going to be to dismiss it. It's going to be to say, no, this guy's crazy. I'm good, right? We're good with what we're doing. And the reason I know that to be true is because I experienced that in my career. And I had to face the harsh reality that I needed to either change or do something completely different. And in going through that process, I realized that the only thing that would allow me to do that is just to stay curious. Right? So as we were spending our time together, just wonder what if, right? Find the truths in this and say, what if he's right? Right? But the only way that's going to happen is you're going to do something real different here. Typically, you come to these events and you listen and you learn. I'm going to ask you to feel your way through this. Because you can listen and learn all day long. I listen and learn to a lot of things, but I don't actually do anything with it. But as soon as I feel something, right, if it emotionally connects with me, right, then I'm going to implement it. I'm going to go take action. So to start the process, I'm going to ask everyone to close your eyes for a second. Now, from that same place of feeling, ask yourself, why do you do what you do? Like, really, feel it. Why do you do this? And when you're done, when you come up with the answer, just open your eyes. All right, we got most eyes open. Somebody might be asleep. We'll let that go. So raise your hand if your answer had anything to do with helping people. Yeah. It's typically the predominant answer, which I love. Now back to that feeling thing. How would you feel if I told you that what you actually are trying to do and what the result is not the same? Right? That you want to help people, but that might not actually be the outcome. That probably doesn't feel good. So if you're curious around this and you are open to the idea that you can change, I promise you it will completely change the trajectory of your career. And you can become, and when I say real estate, I mean mortgage and real estate, right? We're all kind of all in this together. But you can become the real estate professional of the future. And not just the real estate professional that you want to be for your career, it's the real estate professional that your clients need you to be, right? That the communities that you serve need you to be. So in order to help kind of bring this point, I'm going to try and point out two obvious truths here. They may not be obvious to begin with, but let's see who's close. What's your name, ma'am? Elizabeth. Love it. So Elizabeth, I need your help. I'm your client. I want to buy a house. And I come to you and say, hey, look, my cousin's a realtor. I met a realtor at an open house who said some great things. There's a discount broker who's going to sell me a home for $4. Why should I use you? Now, you don't have to answer this. But if you were to answer it, you couldn't say customer service. You couldn't say speed. You couldn't say experience. You couldn't say negotiation. You couldn't say marketing. You couldn't say how many deals you've done. You couldn't say communication. You couldn't say I'll always be there for you. So now how do you answer that question? I can see on your faces, Ryan, you took away all our ammunition. That's what we say. So the problem is we're all the same. We're saying the same damn things. We're just trying to outwork each other, and we race to the bottom. So the second point is that we're giving clients what they want, but we're not giving them what they need. And I'm going to prove that. So please raise your hand real high if you received any sort of formal education in personal finance or real estate prior to getting into the real estate or financial business. There's like a half an alligator arm in the back. One of those deals. Okay, just keep that in mind, right? Second question. Raise your hand super high if you're not even 100%, if you're 90% certain that you're doing all the right things in your own life when it comes to real estate or finance. Come on. Can I get a 70 or a 60? No. 75, all right, it's like prices are right here. So look around the room. I would argue these are some of the most successful real estate and mortgage professionals in the country. And we don't even know what we're doing in our real estate or financial lives. We didn't get financial education. It's not in our society. It's not taught. So how the hell do you think our clients feel? So we need to solve these two problems. I'm not just going to tell you there's problems and leave. Before we solve these problems, I think it's important to understand kind of how I came to this realization with my team. Because this light bulb was a process, right? We didn't start this way. We started like every other mortgage company in the country. But when I was growing up, I was middle class, right? Didn't have a ton of wealth, wasn't poor, but I saw the disparity. I saw the haves of the world and the have-nots. And it was fascinating to me, right? Why some people had so much and some people had so little. So when I got into the mortgage business, I was like, great, I'm going to learn about personal finance and real estate and help. That didn't happen, right? We just sell loans, apparently, right? And in the real estate world, we sell real estate. And the problem with that is we get to a point in our career where we lack fulfillment, right? We lack inspiration. And it came to a place where in 2018, our team was the number one team in Orange County. We were top 25 in the country. But you would have never known that if you asked me. Right? If you would have said, Ryan, what do you do for work? I would have said, I'm in the mortgage business. And the people that knew me, they were like, well, you're kind of good at it. Why are you not so happy? And it's because I wasn't satisfied with the fact that I was being praised for selling more debt than other people. That didn't land well. And the reason we got to that place is because we were phenomenal with our customer service. We were fast. We were good with our communication. We did what we said we were going to do. But in 2018, we started losing clients. Clients would come to us and say, Ryan, I love your team, but I found a quarter point lower somewhere else. And at first, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, how could they do that? We gave them food. We had their name on the sign when they came in. It's got to be worth something. I realized, well, if they're going to save tens of thousands of dollars over the next 30 years, customer service is only subjectively important. And then lastly, in 2018, I had a client, and some of you have heard this. Her name was Stephanie, and she called me. We helped her and her family buy a home probably about a year prior. And she said, Ryan, can you help us? We have to sell our house. I said, why? The market's going straight up. Are you getting relocated? What's going on? She said, my husband got in a car accident and passed away, and we can't afford the home. And I remember I kind of gathered myself and I said, Stephanie, I'm so sorry, but just so you know, life insurance will likely step in, pay off the mortgage, and then some. And she said, yeah, Ryan, we didn't have life insurance. And you couldn't tell me that wasn't my fault. And a lot of people tried. They said, Ryan, you're just a loan officer. You don't sell life insurance. But I had life insurance. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I own a home. But for some reason, our industry didn't care about creating successful homeowners. We just cared about selling things. If I would have asked one more question or followed up one more time, Stephanie and her kids would still be in that house. But I didn't do that. And I knew that I was either going to get out of the business or we had to make some real substantial changes. And it just so happened during this time, I had some stress-related stomach illness that kind of came on. So I went to the doctor. Anyone been to a regular doctor lately? How fun is that? You go in, you sit in the waiting room, the nurse sees you for 10 minutes, and then the doctor comes in, throws some pills at you, and you leave. And that didn't work. So I had to come back, and it didn't work again. And I was getting worse. And finally, somebody referred me to a concierge doctor. Raise your hand if you know what a concierge doctor is. Oh, do yourself a favor. So a concierge doctor is somebody that you pay monthly, like a subscription to, and they do proactive medicine as opposed to reactive. So every 6 months you're doing physicals and lab work and testing, and ever since then, I never got sick again. And this light bulb went off. Make sure this thing works. I'm supposed to go down. There we go. This light bulb went off. I said, we could completely redefine the mortgage industry and change what our clients expect of us if we take this approach. Right? If our approach is that we are more proactive with our clients for 30 years than reactive for 30 days, we can completely redefine who we are and what we do. And this is what led to the creation of NEO. NEO means new. Right? It's the new expectations that we have for what a mortgage company will provide. And no ego here and not bragging, but because of this, we realize how important it is to our clients and to our business partners. And we are now the fastest growing mortgage company in the history of the mortgage industry. But it's because people are realizing this is what they actually need. What they thought they wanted was a low rate or a realtor to just sell them a house. But what they really need is a team of people that are committed to helping them accomplish generational wealth goals that they wouldn't have done otherwise. And there's a quote that I love by Darwin that says, it's not the strongest species that survive. It's not the smartest. It's the ones that are most adaptive to change. So raise your hand if you think this market is different than it was 12 months ago. So why are we doing the same things? Right? We cannot, what got us here is not going to be what gets us there. We have to become something that the market needs, not something that the market dealt with for the last 80 to 100 years. And I'm going to point out kind of what the status quo is somewhat quickly here. First, the client comes up with the idea to buy, sell, or finance their home, right? Their idea. Next, they expose themselves to the market as a potential client, right? They go online, they get referred somehow, right? Somehow we're aware that they exist. Next is we just have to get to them fast, right? Call, quick, over and over and over again, right? Try and be there when they need us. Next, create relationships, right? Create trust, because that's what we sell. We sell us. Next, they have to pick us. There's 1.4 million realtors. There's 400,000 loan officers. And then we give them really good customer service, right? Because that's how we differentiate ourselves. From there, we market to them. After closing, we send them, don't forget to change your clocks. Like your phone's not going to do that for you, right? Here's a recipe that nobody wants. Here's a pie on Thanksgiving. Basically saying, don't forget about me. And then we assume that because someone owns a home, they're going to become a successful homeowner. And that's a bad assumption. Because I just tested it with everybody in this audience. Right? So that has to spark something here. So now, let's go back to the first thing, and I'm going to show you why these don't work. I'm going to do a little test. So if you have a past client database, raise your hand if your past client calls you and says they want to buy or sell a house raise your hand if that's a win. Okay, some of you are good at trick questions. I would argue that is not a win. And I'm going to try and explain that. Pull out your phone real fast and just type in, go to Google, real quick, pull out your phone, go to Google and just type in real estate. And hold on. What are you guys getting? Real estate crash, downturn, home prices softening, run for the hills. Yep. Okay, so we know that's doom and gloom. So here's the thing. Buyer demand is down. Affordability is down. Inflation is up. Home sellers that actually want to sell don't know how to transition to their new home. Most of your database is scared because of the economy. But yet, we expect them to come up with the idea to buy or sell a house? Why? We have that knowledge, right? So that is not going to work. The next two things, we're going to lose. There's data aggregators, the 800-pound gorillas, the Zillows, the Redfins. These companies are going to get the data before us, and they're going to call. They have armies of people. Has anyone ever had their credit ran in the last 30 days? If so, your phone's probably ringing right now. Right? You'll get credit calls for the next 4 months. Relationships. Anyone ever read The Challenger Sale? Do yourself a favor. Go buy The Challenger Sale after you leave here, and you will realize that the relationship lender or the relationship realtor finishes dead last. But the person who provides the most value wins every time. Right? We need to substitute service and relationship with real tangible value. There's 1.4 million realtors, and there's 400,000 loan officers. The only reason people are picking someone when we're all the same is if we just race to the bottom. Lower rates, lower commission, faster, unrealistic expectations. Customer service, it's only subjective, right? Only necessary to the point you need it. Nobody wants your marketing about you. They want your marketing about them. And lastly, again, we can't assume people are going to turn into what they need to be. So, to become the real estate professional of the future, here's a good analogy that I think will land. Horses were the mode of transportation for almost all of eternity. In 1907, Henry Ford built the Model T. If you asked, he said, if you would have asked my clients what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Why would they have said that? Anybody? They didn't know cars existed. So there's a reason why our clients are asking for lower commissions, lower interest rates, right? Rebates, online, click button, get home, is because they don't know that what we do actually exists. And the interesting thing is that from 1907 to 1925, there were more horses still on the road than cars. Because it takes people a long time to understand what they wanted was cheap. But what they needed was an incredible amount of value from a team of people that are committed to helping them not just own a home, but become really successful over the next 30 years. And that's what we need to become to change this industry. So the average person, they compete in an existing market space. The professional of the future creates an uncontested market space. The average person beats the competition. The real estate professional of the future makes the competition irrelevant. We are literally selling a different product. If somebody's comparing you versus a competitor, and you arm yourself with all the things that we can do, they're comparing apples to oranges. Right? If you're trying to get your fair share of existing demand, somebody else is getting new demand. If there's 20 homes in a community that are going to sell that year, most of us would think, well, if I get 20%, that's 4 homes. That'd be awesome. Right? But the real estate professional of the future says, no, there's going to be 50. Watch. And they go deploy our methods, and they create an entirely new market space. So the best way to do that is just to follow the process. And if you have not met with Amit or Erica or anybody from the NEO team yet, please do yourself a favor, because these things are going to impact your business in a phenomenal way. First is Bulletproof Buyer. If you haven't seen this presentation, it is massively impactful, right? Because we help people understand what's happening really with the real estate market. We help them understand their personal economy versus the national economy, because that's all that matters. We can take someone from, I'm not sure if I should buy a home, to it's financially irresponsible of me not to buy a home in an hour. Right? We teach them how they can effectively take a gun to a knife fight, right? How they can make their offer stand out. And then we help them understand that they're not going to be doing this alone for the next 30 years. Right? That they have a team of people committed to them. Right? That will solve your buyer problems. Next is for all the homeowners that have no idea what to do. Look, who in here owns a home? Tell me that you haven't, at least for like 30 seconds, thought about selling your house in the last 6 months. Just like once. Right? Should I? Now, we're all professionals here, so we can answer that question, but our clients cannot. And so equity analysis planning and financial transition planning is incredibly important, but no one is going to call you to ask for that. They don't think that's what we do. Remember, they think that they have to decide to buy or sell a home or finance one, and then they reach out to us. If we can redefine that and help them change that expectation, again, we've created a whole new market space. Next is engaging your database. If you're not giving consistent, high-level value and really moving the needle for all of your clients, they will find someone who will. And then lastly, is just helping people commit to maximize their wealth. People don't need someone to just help them buy and sell a home. They need someone to help navigate the changes and evolutions that they're going to have in their life on a consistent basis. So what you'll see here is what our clients use consistently. It's called the transaction interaction frequency spectrum. That's a mouthful. That has moved to 7 to 10 years in our space. Our clients don't need us except for every 7 to 10 years. It's nearly impossible to keep their attention for that amount of time, right? But through our financial fitness app, they're using it daily, weekly, and monthly. All right, and this is collaborated with our realtor partners. They're checking their credit, they're checking their budgets, they're setting goals, they're doing the things that they want, they just didn't know existed from their real estate and mortgage professionals. They get continual home maintenance updates. And home maintenance and home repairs are the number one regret that people have when they buy a home. Right? So we have a company that solves that for them on a consistent basis right through their phone. On a monthly basis, they get real estate wealth digests that help them understand what to do with the equity in their home. Right? This is an 86% open rate. Check your email open rate. See how often people are opening the recipe emails. Right? People want stuff about them. They want solutions for their life. So I can go on and on and on. I know I don't have a lot of time. But I could show you in great detail the way that we impact the lives of the families that we work with. But hopefully to this point you realize that we need to be more than just transactional operators. And it is way more than relationship. It's almost like a 4-letter word to me at these points, because people fall back on it. I'm not transactional, I'm relational. Okay, well, be valuable. So I heard something 2 days ago that I can kind of wrap this up with. Someone said, motivation without education leads to frustration. So if I've motivated you to change, but I haven't given you a plan on how to do that, then you're all excited with nowhere to go. We don't want that, right? So our implementation plan is a 3-part plan. 1, mindset. I was coaching a student this morning, and the student said, we just have to get through this market. And I paused and said, we don't ever want to say that again. Because this is the market. There's never been a better time to differentiate yourself than today. Because when there's a lot of problems, people get paid to solve them. When rates go to 4% and the market starts doing what it did again, whenever that may be, people have way less problems and they need you less. Right? This is the time when you get to show who you really are. How valuable are you to the people that you serve right now? Right? We want this market to sustain as long as humanly possible. Right? Because the real professionals will show up and they'll differentiate themselves. So don't wait for the easy to show back up. You can't be really good when the market's good and then still good but blame the market because it's bad. You're either bad or you're good, right? Or you're riding the market. Just pick one. Next is collaboration. When you think about how you want to accomplish something, think about who you do that with. Because who you work with is way more important than how you do something. And if you want to write something down or take it away, it's this. You need to surround yourself with people today that remind you more of the future than of the past. Because for the last 10 years, our past has been pretty phenomenal, right? It's also been pretty easy. And a lot of people are pining to go back to that past. When in reality, the professionals of the future are saying, no, we're going to surround ourselves with people that remind us of the future. And then lastly is the evolution of your career. You have to change. You saw the Darwin quote. You cannot do what you've been doing. It won't work. And I realized something, that in the beginning of your career, you get paid for what you do. But as you evolve, you start to get paid for who you become. And you need to focus on that evolution. So I'll leave you with one final story before I leave here. Raise your hand if you've heard of Virgin Cola. Anyone ever heard of Virgin Cola? We got 1, 2, 3. Cool. So Virgin Cola was created by Richard Branson, the Virgin Empire. And it won all these taste tests. It constantly beat Coke and Pepsi. And he launched Virgin Cola in the United States, and it started to do well. And then Coke found out. And they chuckled. And they said, oh, well, we have more money than every human being on the planet. So we're just going to shut this down. And they literally just bought every store shelf. They bought all the distribution. And Virgin Cola couldn't stay, right? They couldn't compete. And I'm sharing the story with you because this could be our future if we're not very intentional. So if the consumer would have walked into the store, let's say Siri is the store manager, right? They walk in and they say, hey, where's the Virgin Cola? If you don't have it here, I'm going to go to another store and get it. She would bring it back, right? Because she has people that want it. But that's not what happened. People walk into the store and they looked up and they go, Coke's close enough. They grabbed the Coke and they left. The parallel there is the Zillows of the world, the 800-pound gorillas, right? The fintechs that have more money and more reach than all of us. They can do that. They can buy the opportunity unless our clients show up and they say, you know what? I want that. I want your brand of real estate. I want your brand of mortgage. And I'm not going to settle for anything less. So I implore you to do everything you can to become this real estate professional of the future. Be so good that people demand who you are and what you do. Be so valuable that people cannot buy a worse, cheaper version of you. I got an amen. I like it. Thank you, Siri, for having us. Thank you all for having me here. Appreciate y'all. Talk soon.